Well, Biden-Trump presidential rematch appears all but set with Super Tuesday now behind us. The focus now shifts to President Biden's State of the Union address tomorrow. Let's bring in our very own Rick Newman, who's watching this one very closely for us. Rick, what are sort of the key message? I mean, yes, this is a State of the Union that the president gives, but it's an election year. What's the message the president will try to get out?
I think we have to point out that at this point, one thing Biden has to do is play defense in a way, and mainly he needs to not have a senior moment on Thursday or at any point until voters decide who they're going to vote for in November. And by the way, I think the same goes for Trump. I think both of these candidates realize that there's a much higher potential than normal, that something could happen. One of them could do a faceplant in public or something else that could go viral and be the definitive image of this campaign. So I think Biden, he just has to not screw up, basically. We could see some heckling from Republicans. We saw that last year. And, I think it depends on how Biden responds to that. He needs to look vigorous, but if he can't look vigorous, he just needs to, to look like he's hanging in there clearly. We're going to hear the same things from Biden we've been hearing from him during the last year. It's just going to be on a bigger stage. He's going to talk about what has gone right so far, that we have the strongest job growth of any president in U.S. history. That is true. He's also going to acknowledge we need to do more work to get inflation down. And I think he's going to be trying to highlight what he would do in a second term. And of course, the tagline for that has been finish the job, which means continue seeing through green energy incentives and new regulations on green energy. He might talk about trying to get prescription drug prices down. I don't think he will mention Trump in this speech. That's not something presidents normally do. They want to make it about themselves, not about the other guy. But once this speech is over, I think Biden's going to come out swinging. And his campaign has signaled they are going to attack Trump as hard as they can.
So, assuming the president avoids any sort of faceplant here, what have we learned then coming off of the back of Super Tuesday, and really what voters there showed that they're prioritizing that might show up in the speech that we hear?
So the one thing on the Democratic side is there were these so-called uncommitted votes in some of the Democratic primaries, at least two of them, Michigan and Wisconsin. That was in, Michigan and Minnesota. That was kind of a protest over Biden's handling of the Israel-Hamas war. That's people who think Biden has been too supportive of Israel and not sympathetic enough to displaced Palestinians. I think Biden hears that. I don't think that tells us anything at all definitive about the general election. But we have seen Biden recently coming out stronger, saying we need to get to some kind of peace deal between these two sides and emphasizing humanitarian aid for Palestinians. So that could be something Biden talks about in the campaign. I mean, other than that, we know the differences between these two guys. To some extent, it is going to come down to people who think that the Trump economy before COVID was better than it is now. And immigration is also a big issue in this one. And that is, Biden really has to prove himself on immigration because he owns the mess at the southwest border now. So there's a whole range of stuff that we're going to be hearing through the campaign. But I would just, final word of caution, not too many people watch the State of the Union address. It's normally pretty boring, let's be clear about that. Wonks in Washington, D.C. get all excited about it. But unless something goes terribly wrong for Biden, it's not going to be definitive in terms of the election. What will be definitive is what happens during the next 7 months.